If you have children or grandchildren, this could be one of the most important messages I've ever spoken. We are doing a disservice, in many cases, a disservice to our children, our grandchildren, and there is a solution. We're going to get away from what I call the dereliction of duty, and we're going to get back into godly example. Now, this message may sting a little bit. This message may not be, this may offend some people. If that's okay, if it offends you, then go back into the Word. Go back into the book of Proverbs. Go back. Okay, if it offends you, but it causes some change, then it's okay. If it upsets some of your belief system, but it causes you to change, it's okay. And if you hear this message, you think, well, Wayne, I can't do what you're asking here. At the end of the video, I'm going to give you a couple of things that we can do, okay? So there's no judgment here. There is a call out. Understand that. There's no judgment. There's a call out. So let's go into the book of Proverbs 22:6. It reminds us clearly, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. But today we find ourselves, many do, deeply concerned. There's a secular, liberal approach to public education. It promotes values and worldviews that conflict directly with our Christian faith. Understand, it's not, oh, we have this and then we have our Christian faith. No, there's no separation in your worldviews. But when the state comes in, public education comes in, it can divert that. Now, am I going to throw rocks at every public school teacher or faculty? Absolutely not. Am I throwing, hey, listen, I grew up in the public school, okay? Grab a hold of that. And I had a friend the other day said, Wayne, we went to public school and we turned out okay. Yes, but the school we grew up in is different than the school today. I'm not going to get into it. You've heard the stories. They're true. I've done the research on it. And here's the reality. When it comes to morality, when it comes to your purpose, when it comes to evolution, there's things that are taught in ways to undermine the very spiritual foundations we seek to build in our homes and for eternity. God has entrusted you. God has entrusted you to look after your children. You're accountable for their spiritual, their moral development. Leaving their formation to a secular government school system that marginalizes or even dismisses biblical truth, it can be seen as a dereliction, I believe, of this sacred duty. It's not about education. It's about discipleship. Let me say that again. It's not about education. It's about discipleship. This is why private schooling or homeschooling isn't simply a preference. It's becoming an essential step for parents committed to raising godly children. In these nurturing environments, children are educated not just academically, but spiritually, morally, and emotionally in alignment with Christian values. So by now, I probably have lost some of you. If you're still with me, this part of the video, hang tight. We're just going to go a little bit deeper. And if you're thinking, well, Wayne, this sounds good, but I can't afford to put my children in Christian school. I can't afford this. Hang tight. We're going to give you some pointers and some things you can do, even in public schools. But I want to understand this reality. The reality that private school or homeschooling can seem financially or practically out of reach. Get it. There's hope and there's community support. Many churches offer scholarships, financial assistance programs for private education. Co-op homeschooling groups are available, sharing resources, curriculum, and teaching responsibilities among several families. And numerous online education platforms now provide affordable or even free educational resources, allowing families flexibility and ease. You're not alone in this journey. Reach out to your local church, connect with some homeschooling communities, explore online Christian educational resources. Together, let's take back the spiritual stewardship of our children's education. Let's equip them to stand strong in their faith, navigate life's challenges with grace, and ultimately become the individuals God created them to be. This is so important. I want you to grab a hold of this. When a child, many people say, well, Wayne, it's and I've heard this, it's not the school's place to teach them about Jesus. That's my place. Well, they're at school for hours. My daughters go to school. Listen, here's the important part. From the moment they get to school at 8 a.m. till they get out at 3 p.m., what's it, 7 hours? 7 hours. There's two choices. They're either going to be in a peer group and a leadership where Jesus is not taught. Understand that in public schools, they're not allowed to teach about Jesus. Now, of course, their friends, their peers, they can talk about Jesus, they can talk about Buddha, they can talk about Allah, they can talk about whatever they want to, right? Because it's peers. And they are peer. What does peer pressure mean? They're influenced by their peers. Okay? Now let's go to a Christian school. Yes, let's take the same 7 hours. In a Christian school, most start out with chapel. They're hearing the Word of God. Through their education, they're getting an understanding of who Christ is, biblical, moral values. And they're taught how to pray. I love that. I'm just going to give you an example. I was literally an adult. If I'm not mistaken, in seminary, or just before I started seminary, before I ever was asked, can you pray out loud for a group? Even though I grew up in a Christian home, I went to government school, I went to secular school, before I even had the courage to pray. I didn't have courage, I was just called out. But I have my daughters here that will publicly pray. They're having them pray over the class. They take turns. They're teaching them how to communicate with the great God, with the great I am of the universe. Bible study, chapel. These are the things that are important. These are the things that are important. This life is but a vapor, the word says. Okay? And we are told, raise up a child in the way he should go. It is irresponsible. Now, if you can't afford it, we're going to cover that. Again, this is not judgment, but there is a call out. If you can't afford private schools, well, I just can't afford it. Well, our school is great. Our school is a good school. I'm sure there's some great public school teachers and principals and leaders. I understand that. But you're still working in limitations of what can be taught and what must be taught that is not in truth. Okay? So back to raising a child up. If I say, well, it's not a responsibility, when do I teach them? When they come home? Most of them doing homework. Are they doing homework? Okay, that's again Christ-based. Are they doing non? They're doing homework. Then you've got to feed. You've got to spend time with the child. And yes, we have our Bible devotions every evening. We have that prayer time. But that's such a small segment of the entire day and peers. Are you with me? So here's a couple things I want to share really quick. If you can afford private school, find a private Christian school. Look at their values. Look at their belief system. And get your children in there. I know the church, the school our daughters go to, many times the parents can't afford it, but they have a grandparent that can, or they have scholarships available. They have funding available that helps people in tight situations. Find that school. Maybe you don't buy the new car this year. Maybe you don't have the boat. Maybe you don't take the family vacation. But let me ask you, are you focused on the temporal or are you focused on eternity? Every dollar I spend putting my children through private school, this is an investment into their future, not only their education, which is top notch, but this is their eternity and my children's children. Where the treasure is, there your heart will be also. Number 2, private school is not an option. Somebody homeschooling. Well, Wayne, maybe I don't know how to homeschool. It's okay. Again, there's government schools, there's homeschool. The difference is there's a lot of programs out there that you can get free or low cost for homeschooling, the educational material. There's co-ops. We had 2 of our children in a co-op. So for 2 days a week, they were out there, they were being taught, and the other 3 days, they were taught at home. And finally, for those who can't afford either one of those, that's just not an option. Maybe both parents are working, we don't have time for that. Let me say this. If they're in a Christian school, here's your response. If they're in a Christian school, great. If they're in a public school, here's your responsibility. Actually, responsibility for both. Number 1, check the curriculum. What are they being taught? What are they being taught? What indoctrination are they hearing? Number 2, get to know their friends, get to know their teachers, get to know their environment. And number 3, as you pray over them, and prayer is to be first, pray over their education, pray before they go to school. But here's the key. Know the teachers, know the peers, know the friends, know the curriculum. All of that's very important. But then lastly, you have to inject in time. You have to make time to study the Word of God. You have to make time to truly get them involved in the Word of God. So if you can't afford private school or homeschooling is not an option, then it's going to take more work on your part, period. It's going to take more energy. You have to be intentional. Are you being intentional for their sake? If you can't afford it, you can, number 1, give thanks to God for the finances. If you can't afford it but want to, say, Lord, open the door financially. How can I make this a reality? Lord, I want my children to know you, grow up hearing you. How can it be a reality? This is Pastor Wayne. Hope this has been helpful for you.